Hey everybody, welcome to Let's Play Car Mechanic Simulator 2015. I'm going to run a few episodes of these in the break between my half seasons of Kerbal Space Program. So we'll get a new game started here. Welcome to Car Mechanic Simulator 2015. Now, I'm going to skip this short tutorial because I've done it before. Car Mechanic Simulator 2015 is by Red Dot Games, and it's available for 20 bucks on Steam. Take a little look around the garage here. This is basically, I guess you could say, kind of a continuation of Car Mechanic Simulator 2014, or at least, you know, a little bit where you left off. The garage looks pretty nice. We've got a couple of lifts over there to be able to pick up cars and work on them. So we're going to go over to the phone and see what our first job is. Our first job is a Reno Piccolo. We got two of them that are kind of the same. The engine is working, but it's choppy, and knocking noises from the engine base. So we're going to take this first job here. Okay, so here's this Reno Piccolo, kind of in this reddish, salmonish sort of color. And if we tap O, we bring up the menu to see what's wrong with it. They say that the fuel pump is wrong with it. So the early jobs in this game actually tell you exactly what's wrong with the car. And they said it was a fuel pump. Okay, now in order to get to the fuel pump, I'm going to put that on a lifter, and we have more jobs coming in. So as you look around the office, there's a lot of things you can interact with. Are the garage, there's the toolboxes, workbench over here, various doors that go places that we can't go yet, this ladder. We're gonna interact with those things as needed. And right now we just need to fix this car. So I know that the fuel pump is located in the gas tank. Just click on that. Click on the fuel tank here. Yes. This fuel pump is looking all ready. I'm going to pull that out and put in the new one. The fuel pump is responsible for pumping fuel out of the fuel tank into the fuel lines up to the front of the engine. And lower that down, and this first job is ready. Oops. Oh, send you on your way. 240 bucks. So I really like simulation games like these. This one's kind of relaxing. It's a lot of fun to play. You know, even though it's kind of a mundane job, but there is a career to it. As you get experience points, you'll get upgrades that you can spend in your toolbox to do things better. You'll get more capabilities like being able to do path testing and paint shop, and eventually buy cars from auction and fix them up. Knocking noises from the engine bay. We'll grab that one. Okay. So what do we have here? We have a blue Royale Bianco. I think all these car brands are actually made up. Clutch release bearing. That's deep in the car. So we're going to be tearing apart this car's front wheel drive transmission. Up on the lift you go. Alright, let's get under here and take a look. Okay, so all the clutch parts are in here in the gearbox, or underneath the gearbox. So we're pulling the transmission off. The starter, disassemble mode. Can I not pull off the starter? Okay, weird. It's not letting me... Oh, I know what's going on. Okay. For whatever reason, the starter has to be accessed from the engine bay as opposed to underneath. So we're going to be taking off that. Oh, when you highlight something to try and take it off, it'll tell you what's in the way, what you need to take off first. So we need to take off the drive shaft and the front axle and both tires. So we'll take off this rim. Just right click to take it off and then left click to unbolt the thing. Now we need to take out the front drive axle. Bolt right there. And the same thing on the other side. Just get these bolts out. So usually a transmission job would be pretty expensive because of the labor. But this game really only has you pay for the parts. Okay, now I need to drop it. Yeah, this game really only has you pay for the parts. And then get reimbursed for the parts. That's kind of how they're... where is it? There it is. That thing. The starter needs to come out. Now, lift it again. Okay, and then we can pull the gearbox. So the crankshaft connects to the gearbox through the clutch system. So here's all the clutch. Clutch release ring. And that's the part that we need to replace, right there. But as I was saying, the crankshaft connects to the clutch, and the clutch was what allows your transmission, in a manual transmission car at least, to be able to shift gears. Okay. Put in the old drive axle. Put in both of these front drive axles. And I can put on this tire. Just like that. Back over here. So yeah, I really like these kind of games, these kind of simulations where you can learn a little something in a fun way. As you can tell by the kinds of stuff that I like to play on SimGamer TV. Euro Truck Simulator is always good. Haven't played that in a while though. Kind of waiting for American Truck Simulator. Let's drop this car. I have been playing a fair bit of what is it? Oh man, I can't remember the name of the game right now. It'll come to me. It's more of a game and not a simulation, so I haven't been featuring it on the channel or anything. And I don't have my video schedule's pretty full as it is. Alright, you're done. Oh. $69 for a transmission job. Yeah. That's not how that works in the real world, buddy. But that's okay, we got some experience. Sloppy car steering. Okay. We're going to take a look at this guy in the right lifter. And the steering... Oh, I probably should have just looked at what part they wanted. It's probably like a sway bar or something. The inner tie rod. Inner tie rod. One of those. Another job coming in. Alright, the inner tie rod is over here. And you might actually be able to take a look in your actual car. I don't recommend you disassemble your real car, but you can take a look in your car, your parents' car, and see where some of the stuff actually is. Get a flashlight, crawl under there, take a look. So to get to the tie rods, we have to pull off the wheel. And here's the outer tie rod. Basically, this is an elbow joint that connects the inner tie rod to the front steering knuckle. So the front steering knuckle is actually what does the turning of the wheel. And we're going to pull off this outer tie rod. And then the inner tie rod, which is all wore out. Here is the power steering rack. Any car with any car with steering at all has a steering rack where when you turn the wheel, the pistons push out on either side of this thing based on where you turn the wheel. In this case, it's power steering. And then the inner tie rod transmits that motion to the actual wheel over here. And bolt up this tire, and this one's ready to go. And there is a little shortcut that we can do. We don't need to lower the car, we can just hit the right key and send it on its way. My tummy's growling, starting to get hungry for breakfast. Okay, what's next on the agenda? Running gear. All these running gear problems. Okay. Rubber bushing, spring cap, and wheel hub bearing. Rubber bushing. A spring cap. And the last thing was wheel hub bearing. Okay. Wheel hub bearing. Wheel hub bearing. Ow. Yes, phone, I know. All this running gear stuff. We'll send them over to the lifter. And all this stuff is part of the suspension, which for some reason in this game they're referring to as the running gear. But that's what we need to take out right there. In order to take that out, we need to take out the spring. Spring cap is just a spot for the spring to sit on. And these springs are what take the weight of the car on the suspension. Okay, what else do we have? Rubber bushing. I need to find that rubber bushing that's broken. Oh, I know what we can do. If we turn on these things, it'll actually show us, highlight where they are that are broken. So it's saying that we have issues in this wheel. So we'll pull off the hub. Or, I'm sorry, pull off the rim. And then we need to pull out the drive axle to get to this bearing. There we go. Put on a new bearing. And the drive axle. And that's that one. And now we're on to this rubber bushing. I clicked on the wrong spot. Okay, there we go. Wrong mode. And the rubber bushing, it's a joint that connects the suspension to the frame, and it has a very dense rubber in there to help reduce vibration. There's bushings all over the place. So you can see bushings here, bushings there. I think there might be bushings in there as well. Yeah, lots of bushings to help reduce road noise and vibration. And that's that. You're done. Oh, trying to send it out without its tire. So we'll put the rim and tire back on, and then this car's ready to go. M-O. Finish the job. Let's go take a look at what orders there are in the... we've already done running faults. I'd like to get something like an oil change or something like that, just so, that's one of the most vital skills that a person can learn how to do. Timing needs to be replaced. There's a different kind of job. And, okay, belt tensioner, timing belt, and water pump. Belt. belt tensioner, timing belt, water pump. Okay, in this one we really don't need to put this car on a lift. We'll just run it where it's at. So we have all these belts and pulleys over here to do various things around the car. So the crankshaft, all the power coming from the pistons transmitted to the crankshaft. The crankshaft pulley then sends that power, some of that power, to various things about the side of the car. If we pull out the serpentine belt, we see that we have the alternator that provides power for the car, and all this other stuff which is connected to this other serpentine belt. Idle roller, the water pump which we need to replace, belt tensioner. So the belt tensioner is sort of a hand cranked thing that is used to provide extra tension to the belt so it can run around and actually have good contact with all these other devices. Pull off that belt and pull off the water pump. Replace the water pump. Replace the serpentine belt B and the belt tensioner and serpentine belt A. Oh. Well, okay. I did all that work for nothing because I need to take it all apart. I forgot. We need to take off all this stuff to get into the timing belt. I'm not sure exactly what the idle roller does. Maybe someone can explain that to me in the comments. Anyone who's a car expert. But we'll take off the timing belt cover. So the timing belt is usually covered, or oftentimes covered in cars. And you can see here it's a belt with teeth that connects to the crankshaft and the cam gears. So the reason this belt requires teeth is because all this motion inside here has precise timing. The cam gears move the camshafts, which are responsible for opening and closing all the valves at the right time. So if your timing belt is off, it skips by a tooth anywhere, then your car starts running really rough, if at all. In some cars, most cars don't have this problem, but occasionally, if the timing belt gets off enough and a valve closes, or if it's a valve is open at the same time that the piston is up top, it'll actually damage the valves. But most cars actually have enough valve clearance that that's not an issue. It's just your car runs really crappy. And we're done. So the other belts, they can get a little loose. They'll start making noise and stuff under your hood. But if your timing belt gets off and slips, or gets too worn out, it's trouble. So you want to make sure you really keep your timing belt in top condition. Car is hard to control, brake problems. What do we got here? Sway bar front end link, okay. So this thing needs to go on a lift so we can get it underneath the transmission. The sway bar system is really there to add controllability to your car. I need to take off the wheel first, or the rim. Without a sway bar, if your sway bar stuff is loose, the car can get really unruly. Especially under extreme circumstances, like if you're turning hard, stuff like that. So the sway bar connects to the shock absorber, connects to the front sway bar and over to the other shock absorber. And then with this, so you have this on one side and the tie rods on the other side, and what you really end up with is like a box that's much more stable. So the wheels can turn, but you have this box sort of situation being turned rather than just the wheels being turned against the transmission. And that makes your car a whole lot more controllable. So if you have sway bar, if your car is getting difficult to control, check the sway bars. Put on the rim again, and this car's ready to go. $57 for some suspension work. General engine control and repair. Oh, the car's filters need to be replaced. So a filter job is oftentimes something you'll have done every year or so. We know we're going to need to put this on a lift. And the reason I know that is because the oil filter is underneath. So I'm going to go buy all the filters that we need. Filter. We're going to get an oil filter, a fuel filter, and an air filter. Okay, we can get up under here, around to here where the fuel filter is. Pull out the old one, put a new one. The fuel filter, gets rid of any junk that's in the fuel or the fuel lines. As you fill your gas tank, it's exposed to the air, you get dust and stuff in there, and the fuel filter gets rid of all that crap. So it doesn't get in your engine and cause your car to run crappy. The air filter is very similar, but for the air. As air comes in, there's all sorts of dust and stuff in the air, and you don't want that rattling around your engine, reducing performance. So the air filter cleans all that. And usually, like at the mechanic shop, they'll shine a light through the air filter to see if you can see through it or not. And at the point that you can no longer see through the filter is when it needs to be replaced. A lot of cars now, though, they have the maintenance minder, and it'll tell you exactly when the air filter needs to be replaced. It just monitors all that stuff and lets you know. I can't remember if I mentioned it or not, but this music I have playing in the background is actually all free music from YouTube. Send that car on its way. So yeah, all this music was available in the YouTube free music library. I'm featuring music from Everett Almond, John Deli and the 41 Players, and Alex Ellen. The games music, I just wanted to make sure I didn't get any copyright strikes. Engine power has failed. Let's see what this engine power has failed business is all about. The ignition coil's shot. Or at least one of the ignition coils is. But which one? I think it's this one. And that's it. $120. So, yeah, it is all this complicated suspension work for $69, and I just replaced an engine ignition coil for $120. In my inventory, I have a whole bunch of used parts. Now, what I can do, I can go over here. Oh, none of them are repairable. I was going to try to repair them for a little bit more money. Anyway, right-click and sell all my spare stuff or recycle it for $82. So we're about 25 minutes into this episode. Normally this is where I'd stop, but we're making this one an extended play. So we're going to play this one for a little while longer. General engine control and repair. Car is hard to control. You know what I'd really like to do? I'm gonna go ahead and recycle some of these jobs and see if I can't find an oil change. Nope. We're just gonna wait here until we get an oil change job. Hard to control. Engine is working, but it's choppy. That could be a spark plug or an ignition coil. We'll take that one. It's the air filter. So usually the air filter doesn't cause your car to run all that choppy. It just, you start you lose a little power. You hit your gas and it doesn't have quite as much get up and go. And that's because the engine is starving for air. There we go. You're on your way, buddy. I want an oil change. Changing your oil is one of the quintessential self-maintenance things that, all these running gear jobs. I want an oil change. Give me an oil change. You can do it. Knocking noises from the engine bay. Okay. What are these knocking noises? The Serpentine Belt B. That makes sense. So once again, pulling out the belt tensioner and the Serpentine Belt A and the Serpentine Belt B. You can have some strange noises like knocking or like a high-pitched whine if your belts are getting worn. Fix all the engine problems. Oh, we have 1,000 experience. Okay, we're gonna go take a look at one of these toolboxes. With 1,000 experience, we can upgrade our ability to do stuff. So I'm gonna get fast unbolting as my first thing. That'll make some of these repairs be much quicker. Put new engine oil. Here we go. So this one's a combination job. We're gonna give it an oil change, and also some timing belt stuff. Filter, one oil filter, please. Belt tensioner. Does he need a timing belt? Timing belt and water pump. And water pump. Okay. Okay, on the lift with you. I'm going to put this on the left lifter, and the reason for that is we're going to give this car an oil change. Oh, do I have an oil filter on me? Yes, I do. Okay. Get your authorized oil change bucket. To capture the oil. You don't want to drain oil everywhere and make a big mess. So we put our bucket down below the car. My roommate has a motorcycle that she changes her own oil in a motorcycle. But basically, here's the oil pan. This is where all of your oil is stored. If I wanted to, I could pull the dipstick and see how much oil is in there. But since he's asking for an oil change, I'm not going to worry about it. This right here is the oil drain plug. You undo that, and all the oil drains out of the oil pan. And he did not have much. And of course, we pull the old oil filter and put in a new one. The oil filter is one of the most important filters in your car, actually. Since the oil circulates inside all the engine, all the parts that are moving really fast, Any little particulate matter that's in your engine can cause some serious damage over time. So the oil filter removes any of that particulate matter. Now if we pull the dipstick, we see that the oil is empty, empty, empty. I'll worry about filling that in a bit. Right now, I don't want the rim. I want to get in here where the belt tensioners are. So again, oh, look how fast that is. We're doing a timing belt job. And a water pump job. Water pump pumps all the water around the cooling parts of your engine to help keep the engine running not too hot. Yeah, this fast unbolting makes a big difference. And pull out the timing belt and replace the timing belt. It's amazing what kind of a complex machine it is. Now in this game, it's simplified a bit. You don't have to do every little last thing, but I mean, you can see there's plenty of detail in here. All the major components are represented. I think you can even get inside the car and work on the crankshaft and cylinders and stuff, which is new to Car Simulator 2015. That was one of the things that people were asking for in 2014. Is like, why can't we get inside the motor and really do some work? So this game has a handy indication to tell you when we have enough oil. The oil can pops up. So I usually wait till the oil can pops up, count about 3 seconds, and then that usually gives me enough oil. Pull the dipstick, and we can see we're between min and max, which is right where we want to be. Now, most cars in an actual shop will actually have a specification as far as how much oil you're going to give it during an oil change. I think we'll do maybe one more job. We're getting more multiple component jobs, which is really cool. What do we have here? Oh, we got a whole bunch of stuff. Okay. Alternator and battery. Alternator. Battery. Crankshaft, bearing cap, and piston with conrod. We were just talking about that. Air filter and fuel pump. Filter. And pump. Okay, so this car's got a whole bunch of stuff going on it. Stick it on a lift. We'll get that fuel pump done really quick. Which is up here in the fuel tank. Nope. Right there. Pull out the old fuel pump. Put in a new fuel pump. Lower this guy down here. And we have to pretty much disassemble the entire engine. So yeah, that's going to be an adventure. We're going to get underneath. Oh, hello. If I'm going to pull the oil pan, I need to drain the oil. Alright, so we're getting into the crankshaft, which is the inner guts of the motor. Very rarely do you actually have to work on that kind of stuff. Drain out all this oil. It's perfectly good oil too, you can kind of see it by the color of it. Come here, oil pan. So here we are in the underneath of the car. So we have a piston right here that's all worn out, and this crankshaft bearing cap. Now, in order to pull the piston, that's accessible from the engine bay. I wonder if I need to get rid of the crankshaft first or not. Let's try it without it. Move this out of the way. So every part that we dismantle in this car actually gives us some experience. We're going to pull out the ignition coils and the spark plugs and the engine head cover to expose the inner parts of the engine. So this is where we'd have to be extra careful about making sure that no particulate matter gets into the car. Alright, in order to pull the camshafts, I do need to disassemble this whole thing. Get that belt off. Hang on, I don't even know if I need to do that. Yes, I do. Crankshaft pulley. And then we can pull off the timing belt cover. So, get the timing belt, is cam gears. So now, as I was talking about before, these camshafts, take a nice close look. These little guys right here are valves. And the camshaft spins around and has these little kind of knuckle things that stick out, like that one right there. And they push down on the valves as they spin around. And the valves will do things like let some oil in, let a little fuel in, let a little air in, let in the oil. Okay, we need it. Oh, this car's turbocharged. So we need to pull off the exhaust manifold. A lot of bolts here. Good thing I got that one bolt job thing done. And now the intake manifold, which means the throttle needs to come off. Intake manifold, spin around and see all these bolts here. The intake manifold is what gets air and fuel into there's the fuel injectors. Intake manifold gets air into the car, and the fuel injectors gets fuel into the engine. And once again, those are controlled by those valves as far as when that happens. So the air and fuel valves open up. Alright, now, can we get rid of this? Good. Put in the replacement piston. What we're basically doing here is an engine rebuild. This would be the kind of thing that would cost, you know, $1,000 or so. Maybe $2,000 these days. Where the entire engine is pulled apart, all the parts are cleaned. Damaged parts are replaced if we can find them. And I need to remember to put oil back in the car. Running a car without oil will cause it to break almost immediately. And then you'll have to replace the engine. Getting the bolts on the intake manifold here. And the exhaust manifold. So the exhaust manifold is just a series of pipes where when all the exhaust comes out, it puts the exhaust down the exhaust to the muffler and stuff. And out the rear of the car. Turbocharger. Turbochargers are kind of cool. You can see here, it's connected to the exhaust manifold. So that means, in part, the turbocharger has something to do with the exhaust. Well, what happens is, exhaust pressure, the air pressure coming off the exhaust, comes down in this black section. I'm pointing out on the screen, you can't see that. Comes down in this black section and turns an air turbine. And that air turbine, in turn, is able to pull in more air on this other side into the engine, and more air makes your fuel more efficient and powerful, or makes your engine able to burn more fuel as it goes, giving it more power. I need to get there. Rim, get out of my way. Putting on the cam gears and the timing belt cover. Just assembling all this stuff, kind of being quiet. I should say more. So, how's your day? Having fun? Let me know what you think about this new series. I'm going to be running it during the Kerbal Space Program break. Just a break, a half break in between the half season. I'll be resuming next week. Is that it? We're done? Not quite. We still got some work underneath the car and a battery. What else? Oh yeah, the air filter. Might as well get that done while we're here. In this car, the air filter's over here. So the turbocharger would have an air line going from the turbocharger into the air filter, actually. Oops. Removed one too many things. It's about time to clean out my inventory again, too. These 4 clips are really picky to get to. Zoom in. Okay. We're just down to that crankshaft bearing cap. And oil and stuff. So this has been a bigger job, which is cool. That guy right there. Crankshaft bearing cap has a lubricated bearing that allows the crankshaft to rotate very fast. And that's also where some of the oil, the motor oil is going to help. So the motor oil is going to be in there running around where the crankshaft and everything is to make sure it's all lubricated. So there's very little friction. Okay, let's put oil in this thing. All are done. One, 2, 3. Perfect. All right, buddy. Your car is ready to go. $1,687 earned on this big job. We now have 1,416 experience. In just a little bit, we'd actually be able to... What do we do at 1,500 experience? There's something special that happens at 1,500 experience. And I can't remember what it is. Maybe it's nothing. Huh. Anyway. Yeah, we're going to wrap this episode to a close. I want to tell you, thanks for watching. Again, this is just a little series to put in the break. Between Kerbal Space Program Season 1 and Kerbal Space Program Season 1, the second half. So I hope you enjoy it. Leave your comments and likes and stuff below. Until next time, thanks for watching. Goodbye!